Sultan Barakat. He is the director of the Global Institute for Strategic Research at the Hamad Bin Khalifa University. He joins us now from Doha. Really good to have you with us, Sultan. Firstly, can we begin with this latest deal that's been struck between Hamas and Israel, Qatar playing a crucial role in this agreement as it did in the previous one that was struck in November. We know Israeli authorities have all but choked off aid supplies into the enclave, especially in recent weeks, so it really can't come at a more crucial time. How hopeful are you that this agreement will be successful and possibly pave the way to a future agreement and maybe a long-lasting cessation in hostilities?
Well, in the immediate terms, I think this would be helpful for the captives that Hamas is holding at the moment. As you know, over the last couple of days, Israel received very bad news in the form of the death of two of its hostages that Hamas first released alive a few days ago. The Israelis failed to act, and then the Israelis themselves killed those hostages through their bombing campaign. And I think that placed Netanyahu under a lot of pressure from his own people as to the well-being of the hostages, which led to a review onto their even medical condition. Some of them have chronic diseases, whether it is diabetes, high pressure, blood pressure, etc., and have not been on medication for over 100 days. So the case was made for them to receive medication, and in return, Israel would allow consignments of medical aid to go to the key hospitals operational in Gaza. Now, this is the deal overall, and it involves a number of interesting facts. The first one, of course, negotiating or aid going into Gaza should not be conditioned on Hamas allowing medical aid to the hostages. Aid into Gaza should be uninhibited. People should receive it. And as you rightly pointed out earlier, there are tons and tons of aid waiting outside Gaza that Israel is not allowing in. Nevertheless, now they are happy to allow this consignment of specialized medicines and medical supplies to help their own captives at the same time. The second problematic part of it really is what your reporter referred to earlier, that the possibility of tracking the consignment and therefore undermining Hamas's positions. And that will still be determined over the coming few hours, how Hamas, and in particular, I think ICRC, will have to find a way to get this consignment in. The agreement, as we understand it, was supported by France and Qatar, or negotiated by France and Qatar jointly. And we hope that ICRC will facilitate the delivery of the assistance. The real issue remains is whether it will have a longer impact. I doubt it. I mean, if anything, it highlights the hypocrisy in the whole system. Israel now is happy to trust Hamas with a consignment of medical aid to its own captives, while they're holding a lot of aid, fearing that it will get into the hands of Hamas. So there's nothing now stopping Hamas from using the same medication, the supplies to aid its own fighters. So this is why we keep saying that the humanitarian aid should be totally separated from the politics. And there is no way to have a watertight system, 100%, whereby Hamas cannot benefit from whatever aid is going into Gaza. And I think Israel understands that very well. But this is partly a stunt to try and recover from the devastation of having lost or having killed two of their own hostages a couple of days ago.
Well, that's right, because now we are in somewhat of a conundrum, because officials in the US are hopeful that this latest deal could pave the way for another deal to secure the release of the remaining Israeli hostages. But as you pointed out, it's clear that without these hostages, without the leverage that Hamas currently has in keeping these hostages, you simply wouldn't get concessions on aid or even more shipments of aid into the enclave. As you say, aid shouldn't be contingent on the welfare of these hostages, but Israel is essentially creating a scenario where it is. So the likelihood of another hostage deal being released is looking less and less likely at this stage, isn't it?
I think it has looked very unlikely ever since the last pause fell through because of the way Israel has reacted in the aftermath of that pause. Had Israel came back with a more rational approach to this conflict, with less targeting of civilians, I think they would have kept the doors wide open for further negotiation, which is a real dilemma. No one quite understands why the Israelis insist on continuing with the same level of violence when they know that they can bomb Hamas whenever they want. Even if they agree a ceasefire, a pause, they can always break it. They have the upper hand in terms of air power, etc. But the way the insistence to continue with the same intensity is really puzzling. And if anything, it has uh, done Israel a lot of harm. They seem to have entered into a hole and they continue to dig themselves in further and further.
Okay, Sultan Barakat, we will have to leave it there, but always good to get your analysis. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.